Okay, trig identity. So there's always going to be one more, or there's always going to be more than one way to do any of these trig identities. So if you're watching the video and you're thinking, I would have done that a different way, then try it and show it to me in class and so I can make sure that you haven't made any algebra errors. Really, that's the thing, is just keeping those big algebra errors from happening. What I try to look for when I'm doing trig identities, the first thing I try to look for are Pythagorean identities. The big one that you have memorized is sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. The others are secant, 1 plus tan squared equals secant squared, and 1 plus cotangent squared equals cosecant squared. There, I just remember that the cos go together, cotangent and cosecant, and that tan and secant go together. If you don't have those memorized, you can always go back to sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1 and divide by sine squared, and that'll give you the 1 plus cotangent squared 1, and divide by cosine squared. And that'll give you the 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. So really, if you know this guy, you know all of them, or you should be able to get all of them like we did the first day of notes. If the Pythagorean identities don't apply, then I look for factoring, common denominators, and really last case scenario is using the conjugate. Other situations will come up, before even Pythagorean identities. Let's do 1A here, where we'll renumber. Changing everything to sine and cosine is really helpful. Those really kind of go together. Like, if Pythagorean identities don't work, then I change everything to sine and cosine. Okay, so I made that list because looking at this first problem, sine squared, or 1 minus sine squared and 1 plus tangent squared come directly from our Pythagorean identities. So 1 minus sine squared, if we go back over to our identity here and subtract sine squared over so we can match that, 1 minus sine squared is the same as cosine squared. So I'm going to replace. And if the first path that we take doesn't work, you can always try again. Try something else. Sometimes a path not working tells you a lot about what else you should try. 1 plus tangent squared is the same as secant squared. And then secant squared is the same as 1 over cosine squared. So those guys cancel, and you end up with 1 equals 1. If you were thinking from the beginning that you should FOIL with this problem, you could absolutely try that. So to FOIL with that, instead, you would end up with 1 plus tangent squared minus sine squared minus sine squared tangent squared. That's much messier than what we started with, but I think we can get it there. We should try at least. So I would change everything to sines and cosines now. Tangent squared is sine squared over cosine squared. And if I have a 1 fraction, I'm going to make everything else a fraction too. I'm sorry, that should be sine squared. And now that I've gotten to sine to the fourth, I'm thinking that maybe this wasn't the best path. So if you started with this and got to this place and got to sine to the fourth, I might take a break and go back and look for those Pythagorean identities. Not that this one wouldn't be doable. You're going to end up having to factor with sine to the fourth. So that's pretty complicated. I would, anytime you get to a situation like that, from multiplying out or from changing things to all of sines and cosines, I think that is a great time to go back and think, maybe I should have used Pythagorean identities. So I wanted to show you that, to show you how messy things got messy there in 2 steps for us. So keeping an eye out for those Pythagorean identities will really simplify your life. All right, that's number one.